Welcome back to the Rick Smith Show. Now, here is Rick Smith.
So again, I go back to the big speech. And Atlanta, interesting that he added, as I've been saying, added Atlanta to his, we're going to have to go into the streets in Washington, D.C., New York, and Atlanta, which prompted the Fulton County DA, this Fannie Willis, to ask the FBI for extra security help. Because, look, now that Trump has put this on the map, I don't know that anything is not off the table. The fact that today you had 6 historically black universities and colleges, with bomb threats. Is that coincidence? I think not. And here to share some thoughts on the speech and definitely on all of the voting shenanigans going on across the country. I've asked our good friend Greg Palast to come talk with us. Greg is an investigative reporter, New York Times bestseller. The Best Democracy Money Can Buy is an absolute must-read for anyone who wants to know what happened in 2000 and the playbook going forward. Greg, thanks for taking time for us.
Glad to be with you again, Rick.
So I'm looking at the this DA in Fulton County. Yes. I think got something to be worried about. After that speech on the anniversary, the 89th anniversary of Hitler's rise to power, him calling for people to, if they do something in Atlanta, I think people got a lot to be worried about.
Well, he's saying you can commit a crime, you can commit felony mayhem, but if I get elected, I'm going to give you a pardon. And I'm telling you now, in advance, I'm pardoning you before you commit the crime. This has never happened in American history where you effectively say to people, commit a crime, I'll let you off the hook, which is, of course, what he did when he was president. But here he's saying, that's your vote for me, and you get out of jail card free.
Yeah, but here's the thing, Greg. Here's my problem with this. And I think the guy with the eye patch, the Stuart Rhodes was his name, the Proud Boys leader. I think he kind of touched on this when he said we thought he was going to pardon us. We thought we would know there would be nothing coming after us. So he had the chance to blanket pardon all those people. He chose not to in that moment. So
well, remember he did pardon a lot of criminals like Roger the Creep Stone. This was serious stuff, perjury, etc., and Paul Manafort. But he didn't pardon the rioters because, if you remember, he was facing charges himself, impeachment. And remember, if he was impeached, he did fear. He didn't realize we were going to have a weak sister like Merrick Garland as Attorney General. He had a fear that would be part of a conspiracy interference in election charge. He could face a felony crime. In other words, they could say that you can't say that the president giving out a pardon has committed a crime, but you can say it's what remember, I used to work with the Justice Department. We call it a predicate act of under the racketeering laws. He really had to watch it. That could have literally been used as evidence of criminal intent.
So is this a crime then? What he has done? I mean, he at this moment he can't dole out pardons. But that kind of a quid pro quo saying, look, if you vote for me, you commit a crime, I'll get you a get out of jail free card as long as the crime is defending me. Is that possibly something criminal?
Yeah, I think one of the things that the court is going to have to address, remember that the court's never addressed things like, can a president pardon himself? Can a president pardon crimes in advance of their being committed? Well, then it's not a pardon, it's an indulgence. It's basically a conspiracy to commit a crime and saying you're going to be off the hook. Well, this Supreme Court's going to have to make the decision: are we a nation of laws or a nation of orange-stained criminals?
Now that's an interesting question. Looking at this court, I mean, with your expertise and looking at the 6 Republicans in robes, where do you see them coming down on a question like that?
I'm very concerned because I've already seen the commentaries from the right wing that the president's right to pardon is absolute in the Constitution. There's nothing about anything in the Constitution. These courts find plenty of exceptions. There is a real issue of now we're talking about interference in the election process. And by the way, that's what Fulton County is looking at. Understand that as I've pointed out, because I was investigating this guy, Brad Raffensperger, who's seen as some type of weird, great hero on MSNBC and CNN and 60 Minutes. He's the most vicious right-wing Republican Jim Crow operative in the nation. He's Katherine Harris without the high heels. And he has been promoting these Jim Crow laws in Georgia. What I'm concerned about, he didn't want to go to jail for Donald Trump. Donald Trump said to him, "Find me 12,000 votes."
And as I said from the beginning, Greg, he was willing to do everything he could do to rig the election. He was not going to commit bigger crimes.
Now, remember that there were 29 phone calls. We only have the recording from one. Now I know that not all that Raffensperger started getting nervous and stopped accepting some of the phone calls. I'd like to know how many others were recorded. Those should be made public too. And second, I'd like to know what notes there were, who was on those calls. And that's why the Fulton County prosecutor sought a special grand jury, because Raffensperger's not giving her anything. She said, "Well, what other call? You had 29 calls. How many? Well, what happened in the other 28? I'm not saying nothing. You come and get me, cop, or you better have a warrant." So she said, "Well, okay, I'll get a warrant." Now, one thing you should know, Rick, is that the Republicans and Trump are screaming, "Witch hunt, Democrats." Well, there are 20 justices in the Superior Court in Georgia. The 20 who are all Republican appointees, or Republicans and Republican appointees, all 20 voted to grant this special grand jury. So these are Republican judges who said, "You better look into this." Now, so part of the problem is that Raffensperger, this great hero, after going out saying, "Listen to this tape, I'm innocent, Trump's trying to put me in jail," because see, that's what he was worried about. And as I reported to you during the election in 2020 from Georgia, I was in Georgia for most of that election year, and Raffensperger did eliminate. You have to understand, they disqualified tens of thousands of ballots. They almost pulled it off for Trump. People don't understand. Especially mail-in ballots were disqualified on cockamamie reasons. Someone used red pen instead of a blue pen or black pen. Someone didn't. You have what's called exact match in Georgia. So you signed your name at the bottom or on the outside of the envelope, and you left off your middle initial, but you registered with your middle initial or your, and then you had to include a copy of your ID. There was all these cockamamie grounds for dismissing these ballots. So when he said, "Find me 11,780 more," you have to understand he already found the guy like 50 to 100,000 ballots. But at a certain point, you have to begin shredding the ballots. And here's a little known story that people don't know about what happened in Georgia. Raffensperger thought that he had given him the 11,780 votes because they disqualified so many. But what they didn't expect is groups like Rainbow Push, Black Voters Matter Fund, and the Transformative Justice Coalition. You may not know the names of some of these groups like Transformative Justice, but they manned phone banks. And when a ballot was disqualified in Georgia, you have the right as a voter to go in and what they call cure it, fix it. So if you used a black pen, you used a red pen, refill out the ballot in black. You signed your signature in a different way than you registered or on your driver's license, you can re-sign it. And they literally got tens of thousands of people to go into county clerk's offices and fix their ballots, which Raffensperger has told me he was dead shocked that the Democrats it wasn't the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party stood on its, sat on its hands. But the activists went out and got thousands and thousands of voters to go back to the county offices and fix their ballots. And that's what put Biden over the top and ultimately put Ossoff and Warnock, the two Democratic candidates for Senate. That's how they won the primaries, is this tremendous grassroots effort. Raffensperger thought that he had beaten them. But, at a certain point, he's going to do what he can for Trump and for the GOP. But he's not going to go to jail for this guy. And that's where he drew the line. That doesn't make him a hero at all. Makes him a co-conspirator who got cold feet. jumped out of the getaway car.
There's an interesting way of putting it. I like that. You're listening to The Rick Smith Show. We're here with Greg Palast. Greg's an investigative reporter, journalist, author of The Best Democracy Money Can Buy. If you want to check out the books that he's got, the work that he does, gregpalast.com is the website. We'll get links out on social media on how to do that. Now wrath and perjure, as you call him, is bad.
That's his name.
He's bad. We agree. But the sad reality is, in the new Trump world that we live in, he's not bad enough. And you look at across this country, you got people who are running for Secretary of State who are worse than him, and getting huge amounts of money. And you're seeing this kind of movement of extreme Trump loyalists, people who have publicly questioned or disputed the results in 2020, who have supported the big lie, who are now running for those offices. Should we be concerned about that?
Holy crap, we should, because here's the problem. It's not whether you're for Republicans or Democrats or who should be Secretary of State, which is your voting official of your state. It's that we now have people who are committed to fixing elections in advance. It's already bad. When I told you Raffensperger's is bad news, he's like Catherine Harris, and we've seen some really bad, ultra-partisan Republican secretaries of state, generally Republicans. There have been bad Democrats too, like Alex Padilla out of California, now senator. That's the advantage of fixing votes. But it's generally been Republicans, and now just being a right-wing, vicious, pro-Jim Crow Republican ain't enough. You have to almost pledge, I will fix the vote for the Donald when he runs again. This is super dangerous stuff. And by the way, let's not forget what else happened in the last couple of days. Yesterday was subpoenaing the 14 GOP operatives who put together phony slates of electors to try to force Mike Pence to recognize fake slates of electors to choose our president.
Right.
And the January 6th committee finally got to what I think is the nub of the problem, is the attempt to steal the election using the 12th Amendment. This is big stuff, because they're going to try it in 2024 again. I'm very concerned, and I'm glad that the January 6th Congressional Committee has finally, after a year, has gotten to the nub of the problem. It would be kind of nice if the Justice Department picked it up too. I heard a deputy attorney general today say, we're looking into this. Friends, it's been a year.
Right.
I used to work for the Justice Department. We don't take a year when the evidence is in your face. Your face.
I'm right there with you. But here's the thing, and I keep asking, why wasn't it January 7th when they said, hey, we got two certificates of electors, one's real, one's fraudulent. Why wasn't it that day we arrested people? And I'm with you. I'm frustrated it's taken so long. But what do you say to the people, Greg, who go, look, the wheels of justice were moved slowly. They're trying to get airtight cases. And the other part of, we're not getting leaks out of the Justice Department, whereas under the Trump years, it was a sieve. There were people leaking stuff left and right. So my friends who have spent time in the Justice Department have said, look, if there are no leaks, that means everybody's on board and they're moving in a direction, and whoever their target is should be fearful. Is that accurate?
I think that there's something to that. In other words, silence can be very good. It means that there's no internal, like you said, that there is no internal dissension, that people think that there are real crimes, and so they're being very tight about how they're operating these things. I'm just worried that if you wait more than a year on an investigation, also, we do have to be concerned about statute of limitations too. You can't let this go forever. Second, you've got to begin. They should be hauling some people in and also saying you're targets of investigation. I think we need special grand juries at the federal level, just like we're getting in Georgia, out of Washington. I'm just very concerned that we're heading into, if people don't understand what the issue, let me just take 2 seconds to explain what the issue is. Okay, the plan was done. Donald Trump got a letter from John Eastman, one of his attorneys, saying, you don't have to leave office, Donald, if you use the 12th Amendment,
right,
which is not something people have any idea even what the hell that is in America these days. The 12th Amendment says if there's a dispute over who are the electors to the Electoral College, you have a vote in Congress And it's the House of Representatives will then pick the president, not the Electoral College, which is bad enough. But if you have the House do it, well, no, it ain't Pelosi, Nancy will not be picking your president. Rather, it's one state, one vote. West Virginia and Wyoming get the same vote as California and New York. One state, one vote. You have a majority of delegations are Republican controlled. It's not the majority of the electorate, far, far from it. But imagine one state, one vote choosing our president. Well, Trump's good as inaugurated
right.
if we end up.
And he said in Allentown he was hoping to get to that point. So you're spot on this. So the question that I have is, since voting rights seems to be, on life support, or if not dead already, they're talking about this Electoral Count Act and amending this and doing an overall so that what you're saying can't happen. Is that better than nothing? Is that a way forward? Or is that just window dressing?
No, it's not better than nothing. I'll tell you why. The big problem is not the Electoral Count Act. That's baloney. That's a Mitch McConnell that's a magic trick by Mitch McConnell saying, "Oh, well, I'm doing vote reform. We'll repeal the Electoral Count Act." That's the Electoral Count Act's not the problem. It's the 12th Amendment to the Constitution, and which was used whether you like Andrew Jackson or not, he was screwed out of the presidency. He won the popular vote and the electoral vote. And, they engineered a controversy and the states ended up voting for John Quincy Adams. And so we've had an election stolen through the 12th Amendment before. And it could happen again. So it's about being diligent.
Right.
And it's about also making sure that when people put up these phony slates, that they know that there's a price to putting up a fake slate. You can't just steal the presidency under the 12th Amendment and make an attempt to steal the presidency and not end up with charges of conspiracy to interfere in a federal election. And that's what it is. It's a crime.
And we should be holding them accountable, throwing the bums in jail. I want perp walks. I'm with you. Should have happened already, but I'm hoping very soon, and I'm told very soon it's going to happen. But Greg, I appreciate you sharing some thoughts and some time with us. As always, great stuff. Thanks so much, my friend.
You're very welcome. See you at gregpalast.com. Bye.
There you go, our good friend Greg Palast. Make sure you check out the work that he does, gregpalast.com. As he said, that's the website. We'll get links out on social media. You missed any part of the interview? The podcast. Get the podcast at thericksmithshow.com. Right back after this.